Hey guys, HDvee here and welcome to a brand new video. Today we've got quite a few things to go over for Pokemon Legends ZA. We have some new rumors suggesting we could be getting new Mega Evolutions for the Generation 6 starter Pokemon. We also have a lot to talk about in regards to whether this game is going to be set in the past or the future. There's a lot of stuff to break down, so if you're excited for the video, as always, make sure to drop a like down below. Let's try and hit 500 likes, it really helps out. Leave a comment with your thoughts on anything we cover in today's video. Subscribe if you're brand new, ring the notification bell. With all of that out of the way, let's get into the video, and I really hope that you enjoy. So, starting things off, let's take a look at this rumor which is suggesting that the Generation 6 starter Pokemon are going to get Mega Evolutions. So again, this was posted on 4chan, so take it with a massive grain of salt. And as well as that, we covered a different rumor in the past, which is very similar to this one. So I don't know if they're just like piggybacking off each other, or both of these people know something and they just kind of have heard the same sort of thing and they're just kind of posting it all on 4chan. But either way, this was posted by Anonymous on the 9th of March, and it was titled Kalos Megas. So Unknown will play a role in certain Mega Evolutions in Pokemon Legends ZA. And again, the last rumor that we covered regarding this, not the one we covered yesterday, but like the one talking about Mega Evolutions for the starters, also said that Unknown will sort of like play a kind of like role in these Mega Evolutions. Rewatch the intro for the last ZA trailer. I mean, as well as that, during the actual Pokemon Presents, a lot of Unknown were kind of popping up, which is why we all thought it was going to be like Johto and stuff like that, because obviously they are Johto Pokemon, but it could be, in fact, because they are related to the Mega Evolutions for Generation 6 starter Pokemon. So, the first one is Mega Chestnut, and this is going to be a grass fighting type Pokemon, so it's not changing its typing. Chestnut's body becomes larger and more robust, with an additional armor plating inspired by ancient Kalosian warriors. Its spikes grow longer, resembling spearheads, so it's just going to look like more of an armored kind of Chestnut. And the ability for this Pokemon is Battle Armor, which prevents critical hits. Now, the last rumor we covered regarding these Mega Evolutions was that it was going to get an ability which was basically like Sturdy or something like that, whereas this time the ability is apparently going to be Battle Armor, which prevents critical hits. Like, I don't know why it's such a massive thing that these Pokemon have to get new abilities. Like, not many Mega Evolutions got like brand new abilities that like didn't exist before. A lot of them got, you know, abilities that already existed. So for something like Chestnut, I could see it getting Battle Armor, you know, especially if it's going to be getting all this armor on its actual designs. Like, Battle Armor is a very good idea for its ability. And preventing critical hits is also pretty good, because it just means you can't get RNG'd and just get crit and stuff and like one shot and all that. So anyway, that's the grass starter. Moving on, we have Mega Delphox, which is going to be a fire psychic type Pokemon, so also keeping its typing. And Delphox's appearance becomes more mystical, with its robes billowing like flames. Its staff transforms into a blazing scepter, reflecting its mastery over fire and psychic energies. So that design also sounds really, really good for Mega Delphox. And this ability is Magic Guard, so that prevents indirect damage. Magic Guard is a very, very good ability. I think Clefable gets it, Pokemon like that, and it is very, very useful. And I could definitely see it getting it, especially if it's taking on more of an appearance of a magician. You know, the ability Magic Guard sounds really, really good for it. It is a really good ability as well. I personally would like it a lot more than Battle Armor, just because you don't have to take damage from Stealth Rocks, and you don't have to take damage from like Burn and Poison and stuff like that. So a really, really good ability there for Magic Guard. Anyway, actually, I don't know if they're affected by Stealth Rocks. I can't remember, but it does stop you from like taking effect like damage from Burn and everything like that. Anyway, so that's Mega Delphox, and then last but not least, we have Mega Greninja, the one that I'm assuming a lot of people want to know about. So this was also going to stay as its original typing, being Water, Dark, and Greninja's sleekness is emphasized, with its body adorned by patterns. Its scarf elongates and appears to merge with its body. I don't know if I want to see that, because its scarf has its tongue, giving it the appearance of an optical illusion. You've already seen this hinted at in Generation 9, so I'm assuming that's the poster or like the framed picture that we see in the protagonist house in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. It might be in that house, it might be in a different house, but there's definitely an image of Greninja, which looks a little bit different, and a lot of people were thinking, oh, Greninja's going to get something soon because of this image, and it could have been a massive hint, which it very well could be. And this ability is going to be Mystic Veil, so this prevents status affliction and ups evasion. So yeah, another really, really good ability, and yeah, I could definitely see that, especially if it's upping evasion. But I mean, the last room we covered for these, the abilities were really broken for Mega Delphox and Greninja. I can't remember what they were off the top of my head. It was something like Extra Stab or something like that. But yeah, these seem like a lot more likely for actual abilities for these Mega Pokemon. But even though this is probably fake, I still think that, yeah, the Generation 6 starters are most likely going to be the starter Pokemon for Pokemon Legends ZA. Whether they get new forms or Mega Evolutions is yet to be seen. I'd expect it to be Mega Evolutions because Greninja already has a form, being Ash Greninja, and it doesn't have a Mega Evolution, so I could see that being the case. Or it might just be that we get 3 different starters just like we got in Legends Arceus. I think it depends when it's set. Like, if it's set in the past, we'll probably get different starters. If it's set in the future, we'll probably get Generation 6 starters. That's a really good segue, though, onto what also I wanted to talk about today, which is when these games are actually set. So this is a massive kind of like 4-parter posted by Soul Silverart, going into detail about when Legends ZA is probably going to be set. Now, of course, this is just a theory. It's not like a leak or a rumor or anything like that. It's just a theory based on different things that are in the trailer and different things that we've seen already. So we're going to be breaking all of this down today. So part 1. If you haven't already watched this video, so that's a video from Loxton right there, but it goes over all the themes that Legends ZA could be based on, specifically reconstruction of Paris. But when it comes to what era Pokemon Legends ZA could be set in, past or future, I think that Game Freak purposely left it ambiguous so that it would remain open for us to speculate / argue on. Right now, I'm leaning heavily that it's in the past, and I'll give my evidence for that in the part 2 of this post. But the ZA logo, plus the switching between hand-drawn blueprints and 3D simulation blueprints definitely made me think, could there be a gameplay mechanic that allows the player to travel between the past and the future at will somehow? Intriguing. So, this is something that I am heavily behind. I've said it in like all my videos. I'm very, very, like, not confident, but like, I'm very convinced that it is going to be set in the past and the future. And I think that, as I said in a previous video, I think in the past we're going to have like kind of noble Pokemon that you have to fight, just like we did in Legends Arceus, but and then in the future we have like tough trainers to fight and stuff. And obviously this is where they're going to reside, because this is like a 3D futuristic kind of blueprint. So this could be like talking about the future, and each of these kind of circles is a tough trainer, and then we fight the final trainer in Prism Tower. But then obviously like these kind of images are a little bit more like in the past. So this could be where we fight like noble Pokemon and stuff like that. And maybe we have to redevelop the city in the past, and then maybe in the future, you know, it's completely different, or maybe we have to redevelop it for the future or something like that. But anyway, that's part 1. Part 2 of this is guess where the Synchro machine foreshadowing hint was from. Pokemon X and Y. Logically, Game Freak could be following up on this line of dialogue in Pokemon Legends ZA. So, part 2. Expanding on this idea of Pokemon Legends ZA being a game where we would travel from the past to the future at will. What if we did this through the Synchro machine? Our player doesn't physically time travel to the future, but instead, through the machine, their mind can enter a Pokemon that is already in the future, or vice versa. So I kind of like this idea, because in the trailer we did only see Pikachu. Like, that's what we followed in the trailer before it went into like the sky, and we followed like Fletchling and stuff like that. But originally at the start of the trailer, we do follow Pikachu, and obviously what is the Synchro machine? It's where we take control over a Pokemon and follow that Pokemon. So it could have been a massive hint towards that, and I like the idea of taking over a kind of a Pokemon in the future. I still like it more if we were a trainer in the future, but if we were going to have past and future, and it had to be to do with Pokemon, then at least, you know, it's something. They then go on to say this mechanic would be something like the Assassin's Creed games, where one part of the game will be played as the player character set in the past, and another part of the game would be set in the future, through a projection machine as a Pokemon. This idea comes from what happens in the teaser trailer from Pokemon Legends ZA. When the scene changes from old-timey blueprint sketches to the futuristic projection blueprint, there's a literal transitional scene where the view stretches to the full screen. The Quasar Team logo pops up. Maybe they made this tech to project into the future, and then the camera changes to the perspective of following Pokemon. I don't know, maybe this is all too much, but they did say this game would be ambitious. So yeah, this is originally where the kind of Synchro machine was found. So a device that lets you become a Pokemon, would anyone want to do that? So obviously that's a massive hint to the Synchro machine. This is the old-timey thing. And then obviously we have this as well, where once again we see the Game Freak have idea years in advance before actually implementing those ideas in a new Pokemon game. And actually it seems like these have had the idea since the beginning with Bill in red and blue. I love this find. And then obviously this is kind of the Assassin's Creed thing where it says, a fresh new way to play the game. It appears that this device is still a prototype. You'll be able to use it once you help a scientist in the terrarium. So once you progress far enough in your adventure in the hidden treasure of Area 02. Oh, that's just talking about the Synchro machine there. But yeah, so that's one idea where you could potentially take over the form of a Pokemon, and that's how we kind of go into the future and stuff. It is definitely one way of looking at it. It's not my favorite idea. I like the idea because it's very out of the box where we have to play as a Pokemon in the future, but I'd prefer it to be a trainer in the past and the future personally. But I feel like there's a reason that you're following Pikachu in this trailer. I feel like Synchro Machine is going to play a part in this. Maybe it's to do with like certain missions or something, who knows? But either way, that's part 2 of this kind of like big old theory thing. So part 3, the most likely option is that Pokemon Legends ZA will simply take place in the past like its predecessor, which is already a big point. Maybe because all legends were meant to take place in the past. I mean, when you think of the word legend, it is something in the past. You know, you wouldn't be like, oh, that futuristic thing is a legend. Like, it just doesn't really make sense. You'd be saying it's in the past. You know, legends are from things in the past, which is why they're associated with like dragons and stuff like that. Not that dragons existed, but you know what I mean. Like, it's legendary kind of ideas and stories from the past. So that's why we already think it is going to be in the past, as well as that, because obviously Legends Arceus was in the past as well. But we've only got one Legends game to kind of base this on. You know, this is clearly going to be a series. I mean, it already is because there's multiple games now. So maybe whenever we get a Legends game, it will be in the future or the past. We'll have to see. But I'll provide more evidence for this, and then in part 4, I'm the same for a possible future setting. So Houseman's redevelopment of Paris is the #1 hint here because it's such a specific reference to exactly what seems to be happening with Lumiose City in Legends ZA. So this would obviously be like a massive reference to actual Paris and how that was developed and stuff, and that would be what they based the game on. Number 2, this game is called Z-A, from Z to A, meaning the game goes from the end, future, to the beginning, which is obviously the past. If we follow the progression of the teaser trailer, you'll notice that we start at old hand-drawn blueprints, and then we go to more modern blueprints with lights, and then back to the old-style blueprints in the final scene. This might more so be a point for us traveling back and forth between the past and the future. It will too. And again, I think this is, I think the fact that there's futuristic and old-timey stuff in the trailer, I think it's just a massive hint towards us being able to time travel. Number 4, in the teaser, the premise of making Lumiose City a place for humans and Pokemon to coexist implies that before this, Pokemon and humans weren't coexisting in the city together. Yet we know that in X and Y, humans and Pokemon do coexist in Lumiose City. So this must take place before that. This is even more evident in other languages. I noticed first in Italian, but also in Japanese, they speak of this cohabitation being a dream not yet realized. So that's obviously a big in favor of it being set in the past, because it's a dream that's not yet realized about Pokemon and people living in harmony. And obviously, as we know in X and Y, Pokemon and people do live in harmony, so that has to be in the past. It then goes on to say the Talonflame that we follow in the trailer seems to de-evolve into a fletchling, representing which could be representing that we will be going back in time from the Lumiose City we know in X and Y. And then number 6, the hand-drawn blueprints not only have an old-time feel, but also the architecture is the same style of architecture from the 1800s Paris and earlier. Since these are blueprints, that means they haven't even built these 1800s buildings yet. Number 7, in the same way the futuristic hologram, like blueprints, are a stylized vision of the future and what they hope Lumiose City will eventually look like, especially with electricity one day. And then the Legends title that has now become a series implies that a legend or legendary tale is central to the story of this game series. A legend is an old story myth passed down through generations. So there's a lot of hints here towards obviously it being set in the past, and I think it will be set in the past. I think we'll start in the past, but I think we'll also go into the future. I think the Z is like maybe the past and the A is the future or something. Like the A stands for Alpha. So the A for Alpha could be, I don't know, maybe something to do with futuristic. I know obviously we had Alpha Pokemon and Legends Arceus, which is obviously previous, like set in the past. But I feel like, I don't know, the reason that ZA and not just Pokemon Legends Z, I feel like that's two different things, you know? Because obviously Z is at the end of the alphabet and A is at the start of the alphabet. So Z is like the past and then A is like the future. I think it would just be called Pokemon Legends Z if it was set in the past. Anyway, moving on, let's go over the future stuff as well. So before I move on to... Oh, no, never mind. Before I move on to futuristic points, I wanted to double down on these, specifically number 4. So many are saying modern Lumiose in X and Y isn't a city where humans and Pokemon coexist, but we have to look at how Game Freak intended Lumiose to be, not on what the city looked like in the games due to the limitations of the hardware and Game Freak's capabilities. Lumiose may not have felt like a bustling city filled with people and Pokemon, but we can see from this artwork, and even from seeing a few Pokemon running around in the games, that Game Freak's vision was for modern Lumiose in X and Y to a city where both people and Pokemon coexisted. Therefore, this dream in Pokemon Legends ZA probably hasn't happened yet. I also wanted to harp on point number 2 a bit more here. The style of the letter Z and the dash seems to have modern undertones to their design, while the A has a very big nature and purity vibe. So again, it's heavily suggesting we are going from Z to A, from the end of the alphabet back to the beginning, from modernity back to nature. Lastly, the biggest point people are trying to make against the hand-drawn blueprints being set in the past are the fashion/clothing of the humans, specifically the baseball-looking cap. There's also handbags as well that you can see throughout the trailer. The bottom line is this is a Pokemon game, so a game set a few hundred years ago might not equal an exact date of real-world events. If set in the past, I would say Legends ZA takes place around our late 1800s time frame, so with that in mind, baseball was actually already popular around that time IRL. Maybe those caps weren't worn in Paris, but hats like looked similar to those were. And again, either way, this is the Pokemon world, so that could be another explanation or a mixture of IRL timeframes. It then goes on to say, I wanted to add one more last point to this too. Number 9, Pokemon Legends Arceus was a game meant to mirror a very specific time period in the real world, which was the 1800s colonization of Azo by Japanese settlers. This is the exact premise of Legends Arceus. It's the story of how Hisui changed his name to Sinnoh and of the small first settlement of Jubilife City. Therefore, it's likely that Game Freak will pick another event in history to base Legends ZA on, which is probably the Haussmann reconstruction of Paris. Of course, Legends Arceus was one of the game, and Game Freak doesn't have to follow what they did in that specific game, but I do personally think that they will with this point. And then for the futuristic points, we've already gone over it in a past video, so I won't touch on it too much. But it's just about like how with the video, you like the sounds that happen with the Z and the A are like very futuristic and stuff, and it's apparently like potentially an idea about that being a little bit of a hint towards a futuristic. Like I say, there's a lot of future hints as well that we've already gone over with like the blueprints and stuff like that, but there's a lot of past hints as well, and I think that it's just so much from both parties that it has to be a game where you can go to both. And it also makes sense because obviously we had Legends Arceus, which was set in the past, we had Scarlet and Violet that was set like present day, and then Legends ZA, not that it's just set in the future, but we'd be able to go to the future in that game, because I still think there are aspects of it set in the past, but I think the majority of it could be set in the future as well. We'll have to wait and see, but there's a lot of ideas that kind of are for both. But either way, that's going to be everything for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please do consider hitting the like button down below. Let's try and hit 500 likes. It does really help out. Leave a comment with your thoughts on anything we covered in today's video. What are your thoughts on this potential rumor? Do you think these starter Pokemon are going to get Mega Evolutions in Legends ZA? And also, when do you think this game is going to be set? Do you think the past, the future, present day, or do you think it's going to be a mixture of everything? Let me know your thoughts on all that though. But thank you for watching. Subscribe if you're brand new. Ring the notification bell for daily Pokemon content. Have a great rest of your day. And until next time, peace.